All right. Whoops. What did I do here on TikTok? All right. Hello and welcome, everyone. Sorry, I've got some technical difficulties here. There we go. Okay. Hello and welcome. Hello and welcome to another episode today of the Empowered Immigrant Live. Thank you so much for being here. Today I want to give just an update on what's going on in the world of immigration law. This will be my November update, November 2025. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here. My name's Otis Landerholm. I'm the founding attorney here at Landerholm Immigration, A.P.C, where we fight for your American dream. And as I'm talking about the law and as I'm talking about my immigration law update for the month of November right here today, as I'm talking, if you have questions, please feel free to submit your questions, all right? And I'll do my best to answer them right here, right now, live, all right? So thank you all so much for being here. I really appreciate each of you. Remember, the Empowered Immigrant Live is here to train, teach, inspire, and empower immigrants to make the most out of immigration laws and to make the most out of their lives. All right, that's becoming increasingly difficult to do. And here we are, doing our best anyway, trying to do it anyway, in the face of difficulty and challenge, living our lives anyway. All right, and so thank you for being here. I appreciate each and every one of you for tuning in right now. Welcome to today's episode of the Empowered Immigrant Live. My question for everyone is, hey, do you want to get a green card? Do you want to win citizenship? Do you want to apply for VAWA or asylum or a U visa? Or do you want to just see what your strategy is or what your best option would be? Or do you want help on how to prevent or how to avoid deportation? If any of those things are on your mind, if any of those things are something that you want, then one, go for it. Get help, get advice, get consultations, get some kind of solution for your situation. Go for it. And my firm is on a mission to win 10,000 immigration cases in the next 10 years. We would love to help you. We would love for your case to be one of our 10,000 wins. All right? I don't know how we're going to do that, but that's what we're out to do. All right? And so thank you for everyone who's here. Thank you for tuning into our channel. Thank you for being here on this beautiful Thursday morning. And welcome to today's episode. All right? So November update. Man, this month has been a challenge in the world of immigration law, and it's not just this month. This whole year has been a serious challenge. I'll start with asylum. Asylum cases are being, the asylum process, I'll say, is just being whacked. It's being like beaten to the ground right now, all right? The legal protections that are asylum law, which are designed to protect people who are fleeing for their lives from violence, death, persecution, torture in their home country, it's like those protections are being attacked. And what I want to say about it are a couple things, all right? First, the BIA, the Board of Immigration Appeals, has decided cases that make it more difficult for asylum based on domestic violence issues, for asylum based on family-based issues, family-based harm, and for other quote-unquote particular social group asylum cases to move forward. All right, so the PSG, the particular social group ground for asylum, is becoming increasingly difficult based on numerous BIA cases that have been decided recently. The other thing that's a big challenge for asylum is the government has issued what we call asylum cooperative agreements. All right? Right now, they are with Honduras, Guatemala, and Ecuador, and there are others that are like being signed and being executed. And what these agreements say is that those countries will accept deportees to their countries, which means that people will have to fight asylum in those countries before they can prevent their asylum case here. All right? And what this is it's like another way to, if you're fighting an asylum case here, they're going to say, well, wait a second, you're not just fighting for protection from your own country. You also have to argue that you're not safe in any of these other countries, right? And there's strategies for how we can fight about that, but it's just increasing the difficulty of obtaining asylum protection. Okay? And the government is moving, the last thing I'll say about asylum is that the government is moving to quote unquote pre-termit cases that they argue were quote unquote incomplete applications, which, they're making this argument a lot. And so it's just making asylum case, we've just got to fight every little stage of an asylum case, and it's becoming very difficult, increasingly difficult. Okay? Not impossible, just increasingly difficult, all right, to defend people. And it's awful. Okay? All right. The next issue I want to explain, and as I'm talking, if you have questions, please feel free to submit your questions. All right? So the next issue I want to explain is what we call public charge inadmissibility. Okay? Public charge inadmissibility is expanding. And you want to know, this is not a huge surprise, I should say, first off. Okay? The last Trump administration, under the last Trump administration, there were enormous changes to the public charge inadmissibility ground. And so to see some of this come back now is not a big shock. Okay? And remember, the Immigration Nationality Act says that a person applying for a visa or admission or adjustment of status can be denied if they are likely at any time to become a public charge, meaning that they're likely at any time to require government assistance, all right, money, support from the government, okay? And right there in the law, it says that the government officers must consider the person's age, health, family status, their assets, resources, and financial status, and their education and skills. All right, it's like just baked in Section 212A4 of the Immigration Nationality Act. All right, so it's not a huge shock to see this, but what we're seeing in practice, the State Department, or just less than a week ago, last week, released new guidance about health conditions that they're going to say require extra scrutiny under the public charge doctrine. So they're talking about diabetes and obesity and cardiovascular disease and respiratory disease and neurological diseases and mental health disorders and cancers and things of this nature. It's like, yes, these things can require an expense, right? They can be expensive to treat those things, all right? But you're asking a government officer to predict whether or not someone might require government assistance in their medical future, right? It's like, that's a very, very difficult thing and a kind of a scary thing, kind of scary power to put in the hands of a visa officer overseas to make that type of determination. And of course, one aspect of the determination is, hey, does this person have any of these medical issues, right? But then the second step is, well, do they have the money to be able to pay for that kind of treatment, right? It's like you got to look at both sides of it. Like, do you have the medical issue and do you have the money to be able to support the treatment? And nevertheless, it is like a pretty potentially very troubling advance. We haven't seen how it plays out in practice, but to deny somebody just because they might have a predisposition to diabetes. I mean, you're talking like 10% of the world's population now, right, has some kind of predisposition to diabetes and or some of these other health concerns. And so it's a pretty scary expansion of public charge rationale for denying cases. Okay, so that's that issue. And then the final issue that I want to bring up before getting into your questions is detention. All right, I was at an AILA conference in Southern California. AILA is the American Immigration Lawyers Association, and they are the best of the best in terms of immigration advocates in the country. And I'm a member of their organization, and so I was at a conference in Long Beach this last weekend. And so the statistic that I wrote down is that right now there are over 64,000 immigrants right now detained by ICE. All right, that's close to the highest number of detainees ever in U.S. history, and the projections are that that number increases to over 100,000 within 1 year. All right, and right now ICE is going for a daily quota, right, of 3,000 arrests, right, for immigration detention every day. And they're deporting some of them every day, and they're arresting new ones every day. And so it's like there is a serious and a horrible reality that so many people are being detained by ICE right now. And the plans are that those detentions are just going to keep increasing. And it's happening at USCIS interviews, right? And it's happening on the streets and outdoors, depending on where you are in the country. And it's happening outside of immigration courtrooms. It's just like all over the place. And so, and the BIA has said, this wasn't this month, but I believe the case was in September, Yahure Hurtado decided that people who entered the U.S. without inspection or admission are not eligible for bond. So people are like stuck in detention. And of course, that decision's illegal, right? Which means that detention is illegal. And so the way to challenge an illegal detention is through a process called habeas corpus, which says that, hey, my detention is unlawful, you got to release me. But that process is a very difficult process, right? It is not a straightforward process. It's more and more difficult to receive and get. Although those cases have been winning, it's just, it requires people that have experience suing the government in federal court, right? Because that is what it is. So, so those things are my November update. It's a pretty bleak picture. I'm sorry to say that. The bottom line, though, the conclusion of all of this is that immigration cases are more difficult than they have ever been. All right, my meditation on this or whatever is like we're going to be losing more cases than we've ever lost before in this environment, which sucks. Okay? It also means though that if we want to win, we've got to get creative. If we want to win, we've got to be focused. If we want to win, we got to work together. All right, we got to be on the same page with our clients as to what is our strategy and what do we need to do to maximize our chances of success and of outlasting the next 3 years of this Trump presidency. And we need to push our allies who are citizens, which we have many, to really vote to change this thing in the future, because unfortunately politics is going to need to step in to change this thing. All right, because right now the situation is ugly. And in the meantime, right, the best advice is anybody facing any type of immigration service or any type of immigration application right now, like really, truly, do not do this alone. Get support, get a team behind you, get empowered, right? Hire people who are good, who know the law, and who you trust, and fight that case. You got to be ready for a fight. So that's what I wanted to say today. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you very much for tuning in. My name's Otis Landerholm. I'm the founding attorney here at Landerholm Immigration, A.P.C, where we fight for your American dream. And, there is good things happening too, right? There is good things happening too. We're going to see if there's a nationwide class action that gets certified to challenge all this detention stuff, right? And tumbleweeds are real. I see your comment here. A judge in Chicago ordered some detainees to be released. Yeah, you're talking hundreds of people who have been arrested on the streets of Chicago are going to be released by judicial order. Like the courts recognize the illegality of what's happening, right? The President of the United States, the current administration, is violating the law. All right? And so it's like, and courts are finding this and ordering that the government release people. Right? But it's like they can't. Anyway, it's a crazy situation that we're in. And so let me get into your questions. Thank you all so much for being here. I really appreciate each and every one of you. Lola, I see your question. You say, how can I apply for a motion to reopen? Motion to reopen fighting a deportation order after 10 years. All right, I got it. And so thank you very much for asking this. You are not alone, by the way. And yes, motions to reopen are very, very important. Somebody who has a deportation order, right? The way to undo that deportation order and get back into the court is through what's called a motion to reopen. They are not easy, all right? There's no easy way to reopen a case, all right? There are time limits and there are number limits. All right, and there are certain exceptions to those time and number limits. One way to reopen a case is if it's based on asylum and if there's been some new, very significant change in circumstances in your home country, where it's like, hey, now because of that change, my life or my freedom is in danger, and I need to reopen this and fight and present this new evidence. Okay? Another kind of common reason to reopen an immigration case is where there was, quote unquote, ineffective assistance of counsel the first time around, all right? Where you have, where you were working with an attorney that completely messed up, all right? You can argue ineffective assistance of counsel. You can also argue ineffective assistance of counsel caused your delay if you didn't file your motion to reopen on time. Sometimes that happens. All right, I have won motions to reopen based on that situation. All right, there are a couple of other ways to do motions to reopen. One is a request under what's called the sua sponte authority, and that is like if you have a very compelling humanitarian circumstance where you ask the judge in their own, like basically of their own authority, please reopen the case. And that's very difficult to do. It was much more possible to do under prior administrations, all right? But it does exist. It's just very difficult to do. And there are also what's called joint motions to reopen. And joint motions to reopen are incredibly difficult right now, but they're basically a request that ICE join your motion to reopen. So you're filing it together, and we were getting that in under the Biden administration and under the Obama administration. Under Trump, it's probably going to be impossible, okay? Because their attorneys are just following orders, right? So, and their orders are not good. So, but that's what that is. And so Lola, if you, thank you for asking this question. If you or if anybody wants help really looking at a motion to reopen, feel free to give us a call. We're happy to help. We're here to help. We'd love to do that. All right. All right, let's see. Maria Lacerda, I see your question here. Which state, let's see, an individual immigrant victim is eligible to receive state-funded health care. Can U visa applicants who are in the process be entitled? Yes, yes. So states have their own laws, right? And so, and U visas, first of all, I should say, all the stuff that I mentioned earlier about public charge is not like, it doesn't apply to U visa applicants. It doesn't apply to asylum seekers, right? The public charge doctrine only really applies to family-based cases, employment-based cases, people applying for visas to come into the United States. It does not apply to U visas, T visas, VAWA, asylum, TPS. There's a whole long list of folks that don't have to worry about the public charge issues and like this medical issue stuff that I was announcing just a moment ago. All right, and so which states can individuals who have U visas receive health care? I'm not an expert on all the laws of all the 50 states, but I can tell you that in the state of California, absolutely, you can, right? Medi-Cal is a state-funded and state-issued health insurance plan, and folks who are on a U visa can certainly apply for and receive Medi-Cal. Okay? So I hope that's useful and helpful. All right, so thank you all so much for being here. It looks like those are the questions that I've received for now. And so, yeah, I just want to say thank you for being here. I really appreciate each and every one of you. If this was useful, if this was helpful, please subscribe to our channel. Please like and give a little heart and share or whatever that helps our algorithms. And if you have an immigration case where you are actually looking for help from an office who knows what they're doing, please feel free to reach out. We are here to help, and we would love to help. Okay? Thank you all so much. That's all I got for today. I really appreciate each of you. And let's see, it's November 20th of 2025. Let's make it a great day, folks, and best of luck. And if we can help in any way, just let us know. All right, thanks so much, everybody. All right, take care. We'll see you next time on our next episode of the Empowered Immigrant Live. Take care. Bye-bye.